All right, here we are. Welcome to another edition of Ask Anthony. Remember, if you have any problem that you just can't solve, you can always email me at askanthony@firstcoastnews.com. And today, we want to talk about issues that you may have if you've bought a new car, a used car. I get so many emails from many of you. Maybe you bought a new car and it turned out to be a lemon and now the dealership is giving you a hard time. Or maybe you have a car that's been at the mechanic or at the dealership for a while and you're having issues with your warranty. I want to answer all those questions for you today. I have Joshua T. Khalil, an attorney with Farah and Farah, joining me today. He deals with warranty and also lemon law claims in issues like this. So we're going to speak with Joshua in just a few minutes. But first, I want to show you a story I did a few months ago about a Jacksonville woman who was actually having issues with two cars she ended up buying from a local dealership that is no longer in business. Here's her story.
I've been paying for cabs. I pay family members. Some days I even contemplate calling out of work because I mean it's financially it's taking such a big strain on me, and I just don't know what to do.
Jessica Hector turned to City Mitsubishi on Atlantic Boulevard this past February, hoping to drive off in a reliable ride.
I want to say about a week after purchasing, I would be literally on the highway and the car would start shaking.
She bought a 2013 BMW, like the one in this photo. It looked like a good deal, but she says it didn't drive like one. The dealership agreed to take it back and instead sold her a 2020 Land Rover in March, but the upgrade didn't last long.
It would shut off on me. So I'm not sure if there was a shortage in like the battery or what exactly.
Photos show the Land Rover being towed. That was the last time Jessica saw it, and yet this SUV and the BMW are still in her name, with monthly payments still due, and neither in her possession.
And I'm currently in collections for one of them right now.
So she called the dealership for help. But when she did, she found out City Mitsubishi no longer exists. The name on the building now says Gravity Autos.
I was actually told that they don't have to speak to me if they don't want to because they are no longer City Mitsubishi, and that is a City Mitsubishi issue.
City Mitsubishi is now listed as permanently closed. On the Better Business Bureau's website, it holds an F rating with 20 complaints. One complaint on June 4th says, quote, I purchased a vehicle with a trade-in on April 8th, 2025. As of today, June 4th, 2025, the payoff for the trade-in has not been paid and that lender is calling me for payment. Another complaint from May 16th says, quote, I purchased my vehicle in January. It is now mid-May and I still do not have the title to my vehicle. Oh, and I'm on my fourth temporary tag. Talk about frustrated. Hector was able to get her down payment refunded for both vehicles, but the perfect resolution.
Honestly, I would just like to be free and clear so that I can purchase a vehicle, so that I can live my life and provide for my son the way that I need to.
All right, so the good news about that, we were able to work with the general manager of now the new business that's located there, and we were able to help Jessica get her money back. But I know a lot of you have questions whether you're in the market for a new or used car, so I want to bring in Joshua now to answer some of your questions. And if you're watching on social media right now, you can ask some of those questions as well, and I'll be sure to ask Josh those questions for you, or you can email me at askanthony@firstcoastnews.com. So, all right, Josh, let's go ahead and pop up the first question here and just kind of get started. So, let's talk about what are some of the early red flags that a used car sale might be heading in the wrong direction. And, you know, it doesn't have to be used cars, but even a new car sale as well.
Well, thank you for having me, Anthony. I appreciate it. I've waited quite a while to be able to address these types of questions and alert consumers as to what they need to look for when they go to a car dealership. I think the biggest red flag really is when a dealership is not willing to answer your questions directly. If you ask about the history of a vehicle, whether it's been involved in a collision or it's had any major engine issues, and they try to change the subject or avert the question somehow, that's a big red flag, and you should be prepared to leave the dealership if that comes up.
And let's talk about that. You know, when it comes to a dealer telling you what's wrong with a vehicle, legally, what are they legally required to disclose when it comes to certain conditions of a car or truck for the sale?
Well, unfortunately, not a whole lot, believe it or not. They have to share the correct mileage with you, disclose if the odometer has been tampered with in any way and that sort of thing. But a peculiarity in the law, there's a law in the state of Florida called the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act that sets forth a litany of items that car dealerships are not allowed to do. One of those things, however, is the way the statute reads is that the dealership does not have a unilateral obligation to disclose whether the vehicle has been involved in any sort of collision or has suffered skin damage. In other words, I would say anytime you go to buy a vehicle, whether it's a brand new car or a used vehicle, you always ask the question, has this car, expressly ask this question, has this car ever been involved in a collision? Has it ever been involved in an accident? Has it ever sustained any collision damage? And then they have an obligation to tell you the truth. But so far as them coming out and just saying, hey, I want you to know this car has been involved in a collision, they don't really have an obligation to say that to you. Another thing about used cars that a lot of people, unfortunately, don't always realize, and I get these calls quite a bit, is 99% of the time when you purchase a used car in the state of Florida, you are purchasing it as is. And as is means exactly what it says. You're buying it with all the faults, known or unknown, in the vehicle. And that whole not disclosing the collision damage is one of those aspects of it. Now, if you ask them about that specifically, or any other thing, if you ask them about that specifically and they lie to you or they misrepresent the history of the vehicle to you, then, you might have a leg to stand on. But otherwise, if you purchase a vehicle used in the state of Florida, you're most likely purchasing it as is, and you really have no recourse whatsoever.
And Joshua, something I tell people all the time, it's so important to get everything in writing and to make sure that you read closely over a contract before you sign it. So let's pull up that next question that I have for you today. Why is it so critical to get everything in writing when purchasing a new or used car?
Well, for a couple of reasons. As you're aware, Anthony, lawyers love writing. They love contracts and the written word. And just even from a non-legal standpoint, anytime you want to memorialize something, an agreement or an occasion or anything that's of note and important, you always want to write it down, get it in writing. This is especially true when it comes to purchasing a vehicle. Again, whether it's a used vehicle or a new vehicle, you want to make sure you understand what's going on. And one of the things, just about any contract you sign, but especially at a dealership, is going to contain what's called a merger clause. And a merger clause might be a sentence or two that says, this written agreement is the entire agreement between the parties. No oral or verbal promises that are not encompassed in this written document can be enforced. So I tell people often, clients and potential clients alike, if you don't get it in writing, it is as though it never, ever happened. You go to the dealership and they say, hey, if you buy this car from us today, we'll throw in these brand new fancy floor mats. Okay, great. You sign on the dotted line, you're about to leave, and then you ask, where are my fancy floor mats? And they say, we didn't promise you any floor mats. Look at the contract. And that's how it goes. So no matter how minute the detail, if you want to enforce it, if it's something you're depending on when you're purchasing, making this very large purchase, you need to make sure to get it in writing.
Josh, let's talk a little bit more about Florida's lemon law, because I get a lot of questions about this. I don't think people have a great understanding of exactly what it is and what it covers. So can you kind of explain that to us a little more?
The lemon law is really designed to protect consumers who purchase new vehicles. For instance, the lemon law rights period lasts for 24 months, and the trigger date is the date the vehicle is first placed into service as a consumer vehicle. 90% of the time, that's going to mean the purchase date. So when you buy this new car, you have 24 months from that date to pursue an actual lemon law claim, to actually file your request for arbitration. Otherwise, if you buy, say, what they deem a demonstrator vehicle or a loaner vehicle, that it's never been titled to a consumer, it belonged to the dealership, if they hold on to that for a year and then sell it to a consumer, then your lemon law rights period begins the day it's titled to that consumer. There's another portion of the lemon law that allows that vehicle to be transferred to another purchaser during that 24-month period. So you don't necessarily have to be the first purchaser, just so long as you're the purchaser within that 24-month period, and you can file the claim if need be, by the end of that 24 months. The lemon law really is kind of, it's a very narrow thing. And there's two ways you get into the lemon law arena, so to speak. Either your vehicle is presented for repair of the same issue under the manufacturer's warranty at least 3 times, or the vehicle is in the shop for repair of the same issue for at least 30 days cumulatively, meaning altogether. Once one of those things occurs, you'll want to pay attention to whatever the issue is and determine whether it's actually been repaired. If they repair it within that 3 repair attempts or repair it within that 30 days, then your lemon law claim really kind of goes away, excuse me, unless or until that same issue comes up again during that 24-month lemon law rights period. And then you move on to the next step, which is, kind of the boring legal needs stuff.
Let's talk about another question that I really get, since you specialize in warranty claims as well when it comes to vehicles. This is another popular question that a lot of people send me. I've bought a car, whether it be new or used, and it's under warranty. I've taken it to the dealership or wherever I purchased it, and they're either not covering what the purchaser thought was in the warranty, or it's taking a long time for repairs, or whatever it may be. Just from your legal expertise, what should people know when it comes to their vehicles and warranties and getting repairs done?
Well, the first thing you need to know is whether you actually have a warranty. Most warranties are going to be written documents, and it's either going to be from the manufacturer, for a certain amount of time or a certain number of miles, or it'll be a third-party warranty or an extended warranty that you might purchase from the dealership. If it's a manufacturer's warranty, then certainly, even before you call an attorney, again, things I tell clients and potential clients all the time, once I get involved, once you get an attorney involved, in all candor, it's going to slow the process a little bit. So you should certainly call the manufacturer directly first. And to be clear, Anthony, Main Street Ford is not owned by Ford Motor Company. It's owned by Main Street Ford.
Right.
So the people working at Main Street Ford are not Ford employees. They're employees of Main Street Ford. So when I say call the manufacturer, I mean call Ford Motor Company. Their phone number will be in your owner's manual or online somewhere. And most likely you're going to get a customer service person who has a very limited amount of authority to do anything for you. But every so often you might get lucky and run into a customer service person who is actually able to help you, and then you kind of shortcut the whole thing and it doesn't take as long. If that doesn't work, talk to the dealership. Try to talk to someone in charge, see if you can speed things up or get a better explanation as to why these things are not being covered. And then, of course, you can always call me and I'll take over from there. With extended warranties, it's very different. And in fact, we don't handle extended warranty claims because the big difference between a manufacturer's warranty and an extended warranty is a manufacturer's warranty actually promises to repair the vehicle. whether it's repairing it or replacing a part, for 3 years, 36,000 miles, whatever the term of the warranty may be. An extended warranty, the only thing they promise to do is pay a claim. So for instance, if you take your car in for repair under the manufacturer's warranty 4 or 5 times for the same issue, then, and they're not able to repair it, then you have a viable claim for either breach of warranty or for a lemon law claim, depending on the circumstances. But apply that same scenario to an extended warranty. If you take it in 5, 6 times for the same thing, and that extended warranty company pays that claim every time, they've done nothing wrong. They don't promise to fix anything. The only thing they promise to do is pay a claim. So unless there is something covered under that extended warranty that they're just refusing to pay for whatever reason, there's really no claim there. So I always counsel against buying extended warranties because they're awfully expensive. You'd be shocked as to how expensive these things are just for a regular car or even for an RV. And second, they really honestly do exclude from coverage more than they include in coverage. So you're paying a lot of money for something that you're most likely not going to get a whole lot of use out of. So I would tend to stay away from those to the extent possible.
And I can attest to that because I bought an extended warranty for an expensive foreign car that I no longer have, and that warranty did not help me with anything. So I definitely believe you when you talk about that. So,
well, the good news, Anthony, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're fine.
Sometimes clients will come to us soon after they buy a new car and they've bought an extended warranty. And sometimes we can convince manufacturers to buy these cars back. But the money you pay for that extended warranty is not going to the manufacturer. It's not going to the dealership, not all of it anyway. It's going to this third party. So like in a buyback or a repurchase scenario, manufacturer does not reimburse the amounts you pay for third-party contracts, gap insurance, extended warranties, paint protection, that sort of thing. So most of the time, if you call that extended warranty company and ask to cancel the warranty, most of the time they'll reimburse a prorated a portion of the purchase price. So you're not out all of your money. And of course, that depends on when that call for cancellation comes. If it's a 5-year warranty and you call in the 3rd year, you're probably not going to get a refund. But if it's within the first year or two, and you haven't made any claims on it or the claims have been minimal, you can usually call and cancel and get a refund, a prorated refund of the purchase price.
Okay. Some good advice there. So we talked about the lemon law, and Josh, lemon law, that's just for new cars, correct?
It is. Okay. Again, it's for that 24-month
right.
That 24-month period. If it's a subsequent purchaser and you're still within the 24 months, you can still take advantage of the law.
Because I know a lot of people sometimes ask me, they think the lemon law also applies to if they buy a used car, and that's not necessarily the case. But I do want to talk about that. If we can pull up the graphic for our next question here. What protections, if any, are available to used car buyers under Florida law?
Again, really not much, because 99% of the time you're purchasing a used car as is, and that means exactly what it says. I'm sure there are some wonderful dealerships out there who will tell you verbally, we're selling it as is, but hey, if you bring it in the first 30 days and you need a new a gasket or something, we'll take care of that for you for free, or we'll only charge you for parts. But otherwise, there's really not a lot of recourse unless there's some sort of demonstrative fraud involved. And the problem with that is, again, without getting too far into the legal weeds, fraud is what's called a common law claim. So there are no attorney's fees that attach to that. So you'd have a very tough time finding an attorney to take on that type of claim without billing you hourly. And that hourly billing is going to quickly exceed the price of that used car. So Again, other than fraud, you really don't have any protection, which is why consumers need to be extraordinarily diligent when you enter into these transactions.
And let's talk about that because, I always tell people, do your research before you do anything, whether it's buying a car or entering into an agreement with a contractor or, purchasing a product from a store, whatever it may be. Do your research. What should people know in the process of buying a new or used car before they even approach the dealership or while they're there going through the negotiations?
Well, there are lots of things they can do, Anthony, but the most important thing you can do, and I cannot emphasize this enough, your most powerful weapon, your most potent weapon as a consumer is the ability to get up and walk away. I know the smell of a new car, or even the smell of a used car, if you really want a car, is intoxicating. Mm-hmm. And people cannot wait to get out of that dealership and go show off their new car. We've all done it, Anthony.
Yep.
And that's how they get you, as my father would say. That's how they get you.
Yep.
Because they intoxicate you with that feeling, and you don't want to walk away. So you'll sign anything you need to sign to get out of there so you can go show off your new car.
Right.
Be able to walk away. If they're misleading you or they're not answering your questions or they're making you sit in a room for 2 hours for no good reason, leave. Don't ever surrender the keys to your car so they can take it in the back and take a look at it and assess it so they can determine the trade value. Do not do that because then you become a prisoner of the dealership and you don't want to be in that position. You need to be able to leave. I cannot overemphasize the importance of that. The other thing is, Anthony, you talked earlier about documents and writings. We live in an age now where you don't really see documents very much, at a car dealership. A lot of times they'll hand you a little tablet, an iPad-looking thing, and they'll say, sign here, this just says A, B, and C. Well, you don't know what that document says because you haven't read it.
Right.
And I'm not saying, the everyday consumer needs to take a contracts class to understand the ins and outs of a written contract, but you do want to get a general sense of what's in there. Whether there's an arbitration clause, for one thing, which most likely there's going to be an arbitration clause. Whether there is some sort of written notice you have to give to the dealership before you can pursue a claim against them. Any number of things can be in these documents. And you don't want to just sign that without looking at it. The extended warranties, again, you might purchase the warranty and do so on the basis that the dealership says, you can take this to any Subaru or Isuzu or Ford dealership and they'll perform repairs under this warranty. Always ask to see a copy of that warranty you're purchasing. One, you want to know what's included in coverage, what's not included in coverage, what the deductible looks like. But you also want to know where you can take your car to be repaired. I've had clients come in and buy these things and say, they told me I could go to any dealership and have it done. Come to find out, I have to go back to the dealership where I purchased the vehicle. And I don't live in Gainesville anymore. I moved to Jacksonville. So that's a real hassle to have to do that. It's things like that you need to be aware of. You need to ask questions about. Don't be afraid to ask these questions. A vehicle, whether it be a car, a truck, a camper, an RV, is most likely, for most people, going to be the second largest purchase you ever make.
Right.
Other than your home. So it's something that really should be taken seriously. And you should ask all the questions you want, that you feel comfortable asking. And again, if they're not willing to shoot straight with you, you need to get up and leave.
Are there, I thought it was interesting how you just mentioned, if they ask, because I get that question happens all the time when I've gone to purchase a car. Let me take you the keys to your car, and we'll, while we're talking, we'll go and look at, what it's worth, et cetera, how much money we can get you. Are there any other warning signs kind of during that process that people should look out for, maybe at a dealership that's not trustworthy? Are there any things that you've noticed that maybe they tell people, or any tactics that they may have to try to mislead people?
The only one that really stands out is the Carfax scenario. If you like a car and you're considering buying it, first, don't buy it on your first visit to the dealership. Don't do that. Go home, collect the VIN number for the vehicle. Go home and run a Carfax or whatever service you want to use. Run that yourself, because I've had cases where people have been handed a Carfax by the dealership, and I think you could print those or you can generate it in a Word document. And what's the difference between a Word document and a PDF?
Right.
Mostly is the Word document is much easier to manipulate.
Right.
So they might delete certain entries in there that show it was an offender bender, it was totaled and rebuilt, that sort of thing. So you want to take a look at that, get your own information. Don't rely completely on the information the dealership is giving to you.
That's some excellent advice. So, Josh, we have about a little under, maybe about a minute and a half left. Any closing words before we go that you want our viewers out there to know?
There are two things real quick, and I had these come up in lemon law arbitrations recently. One, when you buy a new car, the dealership or the dealer, the salesperson is going to hand you their card. And they're going to say, hey, I'm writing my cell number on the back of this card. If you have any problems, you call me directly, which is fine. But if you have a warranty repair you need performed, don't just call your salesperson. You need to call the service department as well. Or better yet, if there's a way to make your request online, where you can actually type in the issue that you need repaired, do that and print it. Because we found that some of these lemon law boards are taking what's written into a repair order, the receipt they give you when you pick up your car. They're taking that as better evidence than the testimony of our consumers, sworn testimony. And sometimes when the consumer or the client takes the car in for repair, not all of the issues that the consumer reports are being denoted in that repair order. And you need to be very, very diligent about that, because a lot of these lemon law boards will view that as, well, if it's not in the repair order, it didn't happen. It goes back to that get it in writing thing. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen.